YouTube. What's up, guys? It is Thursday afternoon, and we are live from Jonathan's living room. Instagram's still down. My main Instagram account, going live on my backup account again today. It's funny. My Instagram, I just got it back yesterday. It got taken down about a week ago, and then I got a notification. I just got it back, and then it got taken down again, like immediately. So I don't know what's going on. Hopefully, I get my Instagram back. We'll see. But whatever. I built one. I can build another one. You know what I'm saying? So, welcome everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're having a good week. We're gonna have some fun today. We got some cool things to cover, and I'm not sure if the chat is working today. There's often issues with YouTube chat. Why don't you guys just type in something in the chat box? Say, hey, say where you're listening in from. We'll see if it's working here. Sexual yoga, Nick Sebag. All right, cool. Chat's working. That's good. So, got some fun things to cover today. I'm going to be dropping some good information on ejaculation control. I'm going to kind of teach you guys about ejaculation control, and specifically one thing that is the most important thing that sexual kung fu practice, but really achieving, of course, ejaculation control, non-ejaculatory orgasms, and ability to really last as long as you want in bed. It comes down to one specific thing, right? I'm gonna get into that. So let's see. Yeah, I'm just gonna get into it. All right, guys. So here's the thing. You guys who've been following me for a while, you've probably heard me say this many times, but the average man lasts about 4 minutes during sex before ejaculating. 4 minutes. Statistically, worldwide. And I would guess that it's getting shorter and shorter as men are getting more and more stressed out, and these various things that are contributing to premature ejaculation are actually increasing for a lot of men. But we'll get more into that. So, worldwide, one of the most common issues men come to me with is not being able to last as long as they want during sex. Some men can't even, last a minute during sex. And if you're struggling with this, don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like there's something wrong with you. It's actually a fairly normal condition for men to have. But it can be overcome with the right tools, and most importantly, the right understanding of what is causing this. And there's a question here from Instagram: is that the entire session or only the penetrative part? Well, I would say penetration. So statistically, within 4 minutes of inserting his penis into his partner, a man ejaculates statistically. And for many minutes, even quicker than that, right? That's just statistic. Those of us holding up like the way longer, we're balancing it out to bring up the minute average to 4 minutes, right? So why is this? Why are so many men quick shooters? Why is this such an issue for men? It's extremely common. Men, I have men from all walks of life, all ages, all cultural backgrounds, all different careers, from minimum wage jobs to like high level entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, people who are doing, men of all walks of life have this issue. It's universal. It's universal for men. So understand that you're not alone in this. I think that's one of the great things with connecting with the community of men here involved in sexual kung fu, going through my programs and all that, is that you start to see that, oh, it's not just me. This is actually a very normal thing. It's not even something to be embarrassed or ashamed about. It just is what it is, but I can't overcome it. So coming to terms with that, not being in denial about it, not being in like self-shame and judgment about it is important, I will say. So it's important to understand that we programmed our sexual response to be what it is today. It's like any habit you have, any kind of habitual function of your mind and your body. It's something that you've ingrained into your system. It's based on your habits. It's based on things that you did over and over and over. It's your response to a situation. So for most men, and this was true for me earlier on in my life, is that we basically programmed ourselves, usually through our teenage masturbation habits, to essentially have a stress response to sexual stimulation. What do I mean by that? To have a stress response? What I mean by that is that, think back when you were a teenager, whenever you first started masturbating, like, how did you do it? Was it like, really long and drawn out? Or did you like tend to get it over with as quickly as possible? Because maybe like me, you were jerking off to internet porn and it was just really stimulating, and it brought you to be like right at the edge of ejaculating very quickly. Or maybe you were afraid your mom was going to walk in on you, and so rub it out before mom comes in, stick it in this sock, and let's carry on with the day. So just get it over with as quickly as possible. So when we do this over and over and over, the body starts to associate, oh, okay, sexual stimulation equals, and this is often coupled with tension in the body, tension in the mind, all this visual stimulation, this electronic stimulation from porn, just overloading your dopamine receptors, just driving up to high arousal levels instantly. And most men, when they're masturbating, are tensing up their bodies, squeezing the abdominal muscles, squeezing the pelvic floor muscles, creating a tension response in the body, activating the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. You do this over and over and over, it becomes a habit. You associate, I'm feeling sexual stimulation, therefore I need to tense up, I need shallow breathing, quick ejaculation. So this gets ingrained into your body and your mind as a response to sexual stimulation. So we have a stress response to sex and arousal. That's kind of the underlying thing here. So it's important to understand that it's a habit you created. Like anything else, it's a habit, and it's what you're most familiar with. It's your path of least resistance in any kind of situation of pressure or stress. We could say you tend to go into a certain survival response type of state. This conditioned response to sexual stimulation, once one of tension and stress. And again, having this tension-based response to sexuality, to arousal, to sex, over time causes, of course, premature ejaculation. It causes you to have weak orgasms, like just really not impressive orgasms. Causes sexual unfulfillment and boredom in the long run. Just isn't that exciting when you have a very limited, very tense fight or flight experience of sex. And of course, this issue of porn can cause erectile dysfunction over time, weak erections in general, lack of sexual confidence, having anxiety around sex, performance anxiety. This is a common issue for men. Having the inability to attract and keep a partner, having unhealthy relationship dynamics. A lot of this comes from having this stress response to sex. We're not really able to really be present with yourself, first of all, or with your partner. So if you understand nothing else, understand that ejaculation is a tension response. It's your body, it's a buildup of tension. And we've all felt this. If you've ejaculated, you felt this. You're just, maybe a bit unconscious to it. Because it just, we get so familiar with the way we do things over and over and over that we stop thinking about like all the little nuances of what's happening, and it just becomes unconscious. It becomes just this program that we're running. And this is what men are stuck in. So ejaculation is a tension response. You'll notice as you're climbing up, that scale of towards the point of no return, which is the point at which ejaculation happens. This is a buildup of tension, and you'll feel it in your pelvic floor. You'll feel that there's this pressure. We feel that pressure starting to build up, what we associate as the build up to orgasm, but it's really just the build up to ejaculation. Ejaculation and orgasm are two completely different things. So this build up towards ejaculation is the pelvic floor firing. It's the sympathetic nerves, triggering and creating this buildup of tension around the prostate. And it can only hold so much tension. Once you hit that maximum point, it triggers the spasming of the prostate, pumps fluid, you ejaculate. So it releases the tension. That's the good news. But, we know, or at least if you've been following me, you understand that it's not ideal to ejaculate every time you have sex. So now that we understand that ejaculation is a tension response, and it's linked to you being in a state of fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system, the survival mode. It's meant to be a survival response. Like there's a fucking tiger running after me. I need adrenaline. I need to run. I need to fight it, or I need to run away from it, right? But our modern world, this nervous response has been a bit hijacked. Most people are constantly functioning in this fight or flight response in very, very inappropriate situations, such as sex, such as, just day-to-day life. There's no, the modern tiger here is, I think my mom's going to walk in on me when I'm masturbating. I'm worried about that. So like, I got to get it, get it real quick. But also on a sex level, when you're overwhelmed with stress, with tension, fight or flight response, maybe you have these underlying patterns of like shame and self-judgment around sex, then you're having sex in survival mode, and your body says, we just need to dump this load. procreation, survival of species, because there's a tiger coming after us. Your body thinks you're constantly being chased by a tiger. So it's like ejaculate as quickly as you can. We have to be back up on our feet, ready to fight this goddamn thing. You know what I mean? So that's what your body is saying. It's screaming at you, we need to protect ourselves. We need to survive. So it's inappropriate to be stuck in this state 24/7. But that's how it is for a lot of us in the modern world, due to many things, because just living in the world we're living in, it's understandable that, people feel a bit stressed out. So living in stress, various causes to it. We emotional, mental, watching the news. I say this all the time. Work, relationship stress, whatever. It tends to keep people stuck in this fight or flight survival response. So of course, when you're functioning in that state primarily, you're in the sympathetic nervous system. You're basically right there at the edge of ejaculating. You're already holding that tension in your pelvic floor. There's a link here. We'll get to that. But you're already basically right at the edge of ejaculating. So as soon as you begin sexual stimulation, it's too much. You ejaculate because you're already right there. So how do we know if we're stuck in this fight or flight response? It's obvious for some people, but you may just be so used to it, you don't realize, wow, I didn't realize I'm 24/7 in like fight or flight survival mode. I've narrowed it down to a few very obvious indicators. Number one is your breathing patterns. Notice right now, how's your breath? What was it like? Now that you're don't change it, just observe. What is my breath like? Probably, oh, it was really shallow, or maybe you had nice, smooth, deep breathing. Maybe you did, but for most of us, it's shallow up here in the chest. And the other indication is your abs, your belly, is it tense or is it relaxed and loose like a bag of water, heavy like a bag of water, and you're breathing from it? For most people, it's probably tight. And the other thing is your pelvic floor. Is it relaxed, just like completely relaxed, or are you holding like a subtle level of engagement, like a slight Kegel? Put your mind there and just think, relax deeply. So were you holding tension in your pelvic floor and your belly? It's a question for you to observe. And how was your breath? And if you had tension in those spots, if your breathing was a little shallow, you are probably primarily functioning in the sympathetic fight or flight response. And most people are, so don't feel like there's something wrong with you. But that's a good indicator, right? And those are also some ways we can directly address this. So I kind of talked about what's the problem, what's the bad news. Let's get to the good news. How do we overcome this? What are as promised, the secrets of ejaculation control? How do we just fucking pound away for 20 minutes in a row and not ejaculate, baby? That's what we all want to know. We're going to get to that. So breaking it down, I'm drinking some reishi mushroom tea today. I harvested these bad boys from the Blue Ridge Mountains here in Nashville, where I live. Reishi mushrooms, the mushroom of immortality. It's a qi shen tonic, amazing for the immune system. It's the mushroom of spiritual potency, as the Taoists call it. The drink of choice for premature ejaculators. No, just kidding. It relaxes you. I'm not saying that would do it. Okay. Where was I at? Okay. So how do we overcome this? 3 big secrets to this. So number 1, breath. The thing you're always connecting with 24/7 that directly links your body, your mind, your nervous system state, is your breath. So let's just place our hands on our belly and take a few deep breaths into it. Breathe in, fill up the belly. Exhale out the mouth. Lengthen the exhale. Try to make the exhale longer than the inhale. Then inhale, fill up the belly. Exhaling out the mouth is optional, but it tends to disperse some heat from the body, which is good for cooling down and relaxing. So again, breathing deep, just fill up the belly totally like a bag of water. Does anyone feel any change in their mind, in their body? Do you feel more relaxed? Does your mind feel a little more calmer? How do you feel from doing a few breaths? Feel free to type in the chat. And for some of you, this be like, oh God, this is kindergarten stuff. Where's the real stuff? But, for those of you just getting into this is This is the first level, is the breath. The breath is the one thing you can be connecting to 24/7, and it is the easiest way to bring yourself out of that fight or flight survival mode into relaxation, parasympathetic nervous system, because this is the key to ejaculation control, is to keep yourself in the parasympathetic state. So deep breathing. Try to practice that, throughout the day. Set a timer on a reminder on your phone, like once an hour. Okay, take some slow, deep breaths. Try to spend 5 minutes a day sitting down and just breathing deeply from your belly. And I guarantee you, after that 5 minutes, you'll feel much more calm, much more relaxed, and much more centered. The next thing is pelvic floor relaxation. And this is a huge, huge one. This is something I had to discover on my own. No one taught me this. I was taught the opposite. I was taught in pretty much all the systems I train in, do Kegel exercises, squeeze your pelvic floor. You got to be able to crush a soda can in that butthole. You know what I mean? Just squeezing those Kegels. That part wasn't true. No one told me to squeeze a soda can in my butthole, but I'm just saying this, basically the emphasis was like, oh, squeeze your pelvic floor, because if your pelvic floor is strong, you can't let any semen come out. Unfortunately, it's just not true. So I was told to do Kegels, squeeze the pelvic floor during sex. And you read the Montauk Chia books. It's like, keep the ejaculation gate locked by squeezing the perineum during sex. And what I discovered over time was that this actually does the opposite. That muscular engagement of the pelvic floor triggers the nerves of the sympathetic nervous system. It triggers the fight or flight response. It makes your penis feel more sensitive to the ejaculation response, builds up more tension in the prostate. So basically, it speeds up your climb towards ejaculation, squeezing the pelvic floor. So after 10 years of doing Kegels every day, I'm like, shit, my pelvic floor is really tight. Every time I touch my penis, I squeeze my pelvic floor in response. That's a good indication if you have a tight pelvic floor. If every time your penis is being stimulated, it like contracts, the pelvic floor contracts in response to that. That is something you want to undo. So basically here, learn to keep your pelvic floor relaxed during sex. You can practice with self-stimulation. I'm going to share a little technique with you guys. Basically, when you can keep this directly links to your nervous system state. When you're stressed out and tense in your mind, men, we tend to hold this in our pelvic floor, this tightness, this squeezing the pelvic floor. So, all these things I'm talking about are connected here. This nervous system state, the breath, the pelvic floor. We're peeling the layers off the onion here. Okay, so how do we keep the pelvic floor relaxed during sex? I'm going to share a very simple thing with you. I call this the straw breath. So we already worked with this kind of deep belly breathing. Some of you may just be joining right now. That's fine. So breathe in deeply, fill up your belly, and think of breathing into your pelvic floor. It's like you're just inflating like a balloon, trying to inflate the pelvic floor. And a lot of men have trouble like really feeling their pelvic floor. So don't worry too much about it. Just play with this for now. You can even like place a hand down there and, all right, let's all take off our pants. No, I'm just kidding. Live demonstration time. No, just kidding, guys. Not that kind of channel. So you can feel that area with your hand or whatever. But okay, we inhale. Think of inhaling deeply and bulging the pelvic floor. Hold the breath and kind of press the belly down as you hold the breath. And you kind of feel this bulging out of the pelvic floor, just expanding it down there. And then just exhale as you need to. This helps you relax your pelvic floor. Let's do another one. Breathe in deeply, inflate the belly like a balloon. Think of breathing into the pelvic floor and expanding it. Hold the breath. Think of pushing the belly down a little bit. Okay, here's the straw exhale part. Imagine as you exhale, everything we just did, do that. But now imagine if I don't have any straws, but like imagine you're, blowing through a straw. So pressurize your exhale. So we take the breath in, blow out the straw, relax your pelvic floor. Notice how you create this engagement in your abdomen as you're blowing out. And think of that as like slightly pressing down, almost as if you were urinating and trying to increase the flow of urine, and relaxing the pelvic floor muscles at the same time. So it's this feeling of like, as you're doing that exhale, your pelvic floor is blossoming open like a flower. It's just, this release, this relax. The tissue's just, melting. Just melting into butter, baby. So you're doing that exhale. That is a technique. So you can combine that with the breathing throughout the day to keep yourself relaxed and loosen pelvic floor tension. But here's the big streak here. You can do that during sex, baby. Here's what I recommend. Practice this during self-stimulation. Yes, get out your coconut oil, take your dick out, and you're going to slap that thing up. No, gently, self-love. It's a self-massage. You're creating pleasure in your body, and you're noticing, okay, how can I change my arousal response? By self-cultivation, as we call it in sexual kung fu. Self-love, baby. Okay, so you're stimulating yourself. Focus on this deep breathing primarily. Notice how you want to tense up your belly, tense up your pelvic floor. Don't do that. Notice when you're doing that, stop stimulation for a moment, relax, take a deep breath, and then continue. And then notice how you want to squeeze your pelvic floor. We all, men, we want to tighten our pelvic floor, tighten our abs. Keep it relaxed, 100% relaxed, melt, release, relax. Use that breath during self-stimulation as well to train yourself to not squeeze the pelvic floor in response to sexual stimulation. You get good at that, then you'll be able just to pound away for hours, baby. You'll just be able to fucking go for it. And you won't ejaculate until you choose to. Boom. Okay. And then one other thing here. I'm going to get into questions here in a moment, but we're dropping some real stuff here today. Okay, guys. I see lots of questions. I'll get to those. Okay. Secret number 3. I mean, this alone is like, this is like, more than some people teach in their courses. And I've taken a lot of these, I'm always like seeing like, okay, what are other people teaching? So I want to expand my own knowledge, but I want to just, you guys need to know this stuff. And this is still like the kindergarten, just the tip of the iceberg of sexual kung fu practice. So the third most important thing is energy circulation. Energy circulation. And this links directly to your nervous system because we're talking about chi here, baby. We're talking about prana, life force, your essence, your energy. So everything is energy, everything's vibration, everything's energy in nature. If this sounds woo to you, that's fine. But even quantum physicists understand that like what we perceive as physical matter is actually just these particles that are in transition from being a stated particle into being actually a waveform. Basically, nothing is fixed or solid like it seems to be. Everything's energy. So energy is constantly changing form from physical to this kind of energetic wave form in between. But just to set the stage here, what I'm going to talk about. According to Chinese medicine, this energy flows in certain pathways through the body. The energy meridians, acupuncture meridians. This is, if you ever gone to an acupuncturist and getting needles stuck in you, it's great. I love it. This is what they're working with, is the meridian network. Most people, as we experience traumas, negative emotions, mommy, daddy issues, mommy yelled at me, daddy hit me, teacher called me this, or I was, sexually abused, but it can be, extreme things, of course, as well. And this starts to create this constriction in how our energy flows through our body. It gets stuck. Like maybe it gets stuck in this one pathway. There starts to be too much energy up here, not enough down here. We get imbalances. This is kind of basic Chinese medicine. Our health is determined by the free, balanced flow of our energy. Now, how this relates to, you're like, where the hell is it going with this? This is very, very relevant to ejaculation control because this links directly to our nervous system as well. We could say there's definitely a link between our nervous system and our ability to have a free and healthy chi flow. They're not the same thing, but there is a relation. For most men, ejaculation, talking about ejaculation being a tension response in the body, all this pressure is building in the genitals. We feel that. But the thing here is that there's nowhere else for it to go. And that's why we experience ejaculatory orgasm. It could spread into other places. We can hold this arousal within. It's not a problem. But for most men, they've lost communication, we'll say, between the genitals and the other areas of the body. So they can only experience an orgasm as an ejaculation. The sexual kung fu path is to open up pathways of information to spread so that our nervous system, electricity, information, it can be not just expressed as a genital explosion, but we can start to move this buildup of tension out of the genitals and circulate it through the whole body. This is what the microcosmic orbit is all about. So we experience this pleasure and this orgasm through the entire body. And basically the technique of sexual kung fu is we're constantly releasing this tension from the genitals, spreading it upwards into the body, to the organs, the glands, the energy channels. So we get this whole full body buildup of orgasm instead of a 5-second snicky sneeze out of the genitals. It's gone. No, you're breathing it up. You're breathing that energy up. It's absorbing into your body. So basically the whole thing is you can last as long as you want, as long as you keep that energy, So it's kind of like this balloon that's building up. If it gets to maximum point, it pops, you pop out the penis. It's a bunch of fluids. We know the story. So you think of it as like this balloon inflating, but you're releasing some of that air up into the body. So the rest of your body starts to inflate and expand as well. Your whole body can hold tremendously more pleasure and arousal than just your little, I'm not saying your penis is little, but just this little area of our genitals. And some of you it is, I know. We all have dick issues, I know. Anyways, so that's why energy circulation is important. And that's why a major part, in fact, what almost the core of the sexual kung fu system is qi gong. Qi is the life force. Gong is the skill or discipline attained through training. So qi gong is the skill or discipline working with life force. This is important because first you have to just be able to, kind of get your shit together. Kind of, okay, this is what my normal day-to-day energy. Okay, let's create a pathway for it so it's not just congested in my heart, giving me tension, congested in my head. I'm so stressed out. We open up pathways for this chi to move. And it's like, oh, okay, it's more balanced. I feel at peace. I feel namaste. And that creates the pathway. This is the whole thing. I was trying to learn this stuff from books. I was like, okay, here's the book, shove the energy up to the brain, have a brain orgasm. But it just wasn't working for me. Why? Because my pathways were not open, because I couldn't just connect to my regular chi. This was like the shortcut for me. I studied with Michael Wynn, back in 2016, whatever. And I was like, oh, first you study Qigong, you learn to just open up these channels, and then the sexual energy practically goes up there on its own during sex. It's easy. Relatively, you have to put in the training, but so that's why Qigong, energy circulation, creates effortless foundation for ejaculation control and non-ejaculatory orgasms. Boom, baby. Boom. There it is. So that is why 3 things I just covered: breath, pelvic floor relaxation, and energy circulation. And the breath and pelvic floor relaxation are the important foundation, but that alone is still not enough to get to highest levels of complete ejaculation control, and especially full body orgasms. For that, you need energy circulation. And the whole important thing with this is that basically you dedicate yourself to training. You say, yes, if you guys who are struggling with premature ejaculation, sexual dysfunction, not in control of your sexual energy, you want to do more with your life, it really is a matter of you making a commitment to do the work. Anyone can do this. Anyone can walk this path, but you have to be committed to it. So that's the question. Are you committed to doing this training? And that requires, again, the commitment, creating some space in your life to practice the techniques and progress through the sequential training of sexual kung fu. And those of you who are up for it, it's time to join my Multi-Orgasmic Man course, which is open for registration right now. There's a link in this YouTube video. There's a link in my Instagram bio. Registration is closing tomorrow evening, just over 24 hours, about 28 hours left as of right now to register for the course. This course is a complete training in all the things I've been talking about, learning to, again, have a daily practice that helps you to balance and regulate your nervous system so you're no longer a pressure cooker ready to explode or ready to ejaculate at the slightest little touch of the tip of the penis, You're going to learn how to clear stress, clear patterns of tension, old emotions from your body, open up some space in your body so that you can start to circulate your energy. You're going to learn how to open up your channels, circulate your chi through your body, tangibly start to connect with your chi energy, not as like this, I'm waving my arms around. The teacher said if I do it long enough, my chakras open up, so I trust him. No, this is you're directly feeling like, yes, I feel the energy. I feel this happening. And over time starts to open up your body's channels, and learn how to circulate your sexual energy, how to balance your sexual energy. If you're trying to practice semen retention, you're just getting overwhelmed with sexual frustration, old habits, blah, blah, blah. You need to learn how to really circulate your energy and transmute it. This is what I teach in the course. And you're going to learn, of course, powerful methods of ejaculation control, how to retrain yourself out of this stress response to sex so that you have a calm, grounded, confident body response to sex. So you can have sex for as long as you want without ejaculating. And you're going to learn how to experience full body, non-ejaculatory orgasms. And you're going to learn how to do this, not just with yourself, but with a partner. Exchange your sexual energy with a partner. And there's all kinds of other stuff in the course, all kinds of bonuses I haven't talked about, exercises to increase blood flow in the penis. There's Kan and Lee, sexual internal Taoist alchemy practice, which is a phenomenal kind of high-level transmuting sexual energy to spiritual energy practice. I dropped that in the course recently. It's pretty sweet. So again, that's open right now. I encourage you guys to join. This is the time. 2023 is the year. Stop putting excuses off. Stop saying, well, I'll do this next month and next year I'm just going to keep dabbling around with my life because I'm okay with where I'm at. This is time to make a change. If you want to go for it, it's the path to do it, my friends. It's an investment in yourself. It is an opportunity for you to make a dramatic transformation and change in your life. It's going to change every aspect of your life. It's why I love doing this work, is I see the transformation the groups of men going through this work make. It's phenomenal. It's powerful. So again, Multi-Orgasmic Man is open for registration just for about 28 more hours. Don't miss out, guys. I'll see you there. Boom. We've got a solid group of guys already in the course, so I'm excited. Okay, guys, I'm going to get into your questions now. Let's just drink the old reishi tea here, the wisdom of the sages in these mountains. The Blue Ridge Mountains are I think they're the oldest mountain ridge in North America. I believe so. So you go out to the woods and work with a plant like reishi mushroom. It's just harvesting this. It always lives in these beautiful nature spots. So I went on this quest to find some reishi mushrooms. It's not a psychedelic mushroom. It's a medicinal. It's just a nice tonic herb. It's like the number one tonic herb in Chinese herbalism. One of them anyway. King of the mushrooms. Anyways, I went on this quest to find him because a friend of mine who lives here tipped me off on a good area to find him. So I'm like trekking up past this waterfall. I'm way out, climbing up some super sketchy hills. Like if I fall down, and but I see this tree in the distance. I'm like, it's because it grows on the I forget the name of the tree right now, but it grows on this one type of tree when it's dead. So I'm like climbing. I see this tree. I'm like, I feel the reishi. They're in that tree. I'm like crawling through the bud. There's like branches cutting me up. Like, I feel the reishi. It's like the spiritual quest to get the mushroom of immortality. And then I get to this tree. It's like, it's like all these beautiful big reishis on the tree. And I'm just like just pulling them off like, woo. And anyways, that was my reishi hunt. That was back in July. I dried these bad boys up and I'm still drinking them for a tonic daily drink. Okay, guys, question time. Feel free to type your questions in the chat box. Oh, yeah. Okay. Dylan Owl, what's up, Dylan? Says, Johnathan, as you've seen my comment before, I've been retaining for a long period with 3 Qigong practices in place. You said that it is a great approach to take, but sometimes, say once in a few weeks, the end of my urine stream gushes white liquid. I always feel a refractory period afterwards and a chaser effect. Seems like retrograde ejaculations to me. What do you think? Okay, if this is the case, what can I do to prevent this? Basically, it's been a hindrance to my internal energy. God bless you, my brother. No, God bless you, Dylan O. God bless you. Okay, so what was the question? Oh, right. Where are we at? Okay, so you're tripping out. Oh my God, I'm urinating. There might be some semen in it. I think it's like So definitely like little marks of like obsessiveness about semen retention. Always something to watch out for. I know it's easy to, but okay, let me say this. If you're having retrograde ejaculation, like truly like releasing your full load into your bladder and peeing that out, it'll be pretty obvious because you'll be having orgasms. You'll be like, spasms. And, it's going to be pretty obvious if that's happening. If that's not happening, it's probably not a retrograde ejaculation. You are probably just releasing some excess fluid. I mean, the most common thing is that prostate fluid builds up, especially if you're having non-ejaculatory sexual stimulation, non-ejaculatory sex, self-stimulation, edging, whatever. The prostate fluid is going to build up. That's going to come out in your urine eventually. It's like, that's the whole thing. You practice semen retention, things are like building up. It's like, can you carry a bucket that's completely full without spilling any drops? Don't over obsess about it. And so this is actually very common to where you've been retaining and your Hermes cup is full, brother. It's chast and virile. And some of it comes out when you urinate. It may seem like a lot. It's, don't worry about it. And this may be like kind of this placebo thing of, oh, I see it. Therefore I kind of put myself in the state of feeling like I'm depleted because, it's like, if you're that worried about it, you could just drink your pee. You know what I mean? Urine therapy is the whole thing. I'm not going to, that's a whole different thing there. But, basically don't worry about it. Yeah. As far as preventing it, obviously don't have retrograde ejaculations. Don't go over the edge. If you're having sexual stimulation, don't hit the point of no return. And also keeping your pelvic floor very, very relaxed throughout the day as much as you can, but especially during sexual stimulation, you won't have retrograde ejaculations. Hopefully that's helpful, but don't worry about it. Killing High 2002 says, question, how can you relax the pelvic floor when you constantly have to use the restroom because of having a small bladder and feel you have to go constantly? Okay, well, that's a very kind of specialized condition. It may be something good to work with like a pelvic floor therapist or something like that, someone who kind of specializes in this type of thing, because, I can only, I could say like what's causing, do you truly have a small bladder? Do you have like prostate stuff? Do you have like kidney issues, bladders? There's a whole lot of things that could be contributing to this. So it's difficult for me to really say. But is like your minerals out of balance? There's a lot of things that this, do you have way too much heat? Like this is a very almost like medical level question. So I can only give very general advice, which you should only take after talking to your doctor. You know the drill. So it's difficult to say with that, but just in general, doing the pelvic floor work that I recommend for all men would be beneficial to you as well. Wolfine7 says, hey man, so I've been practicing your videos for a while, following your videos for a while. I do the practices great for a little while, but always fall back to old bad habits. Can't seem to make a change no matter how hard I try. Well, this is really, this is commitment level and self-discipline. What I mean by commitment level is like, it's easy to be in like a period of like, yeah, I'm inspired, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And then 3 days, I was like, no, I'm going to smoke a joint and jerk off, because here's the thing. We often do what's easiest. We're creatures of habit, and you've been doing things a certain way for your entire life. That's your path of least resistance. Seems to be kind of a theme today, right? This path of least resistance. You go back to what's easy and what's unconscious. So the whole thing is just bringing more discipline and consciousness into your life. The most important thing is organizing your life, setting a schedule. Be like, no, 7 o'clock every single day. I'm getting up. I'm doing qigong for 30 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, whatever, I'm doing qigong, I'm doing my breath work, I'm reading books, not even getting on my phone, going to the gym, going for a walk in nature. So structure your day like this, put it in your calendar, put it on your schedule. So it's like, and you just do it. I don't know what else to say. It's a muscle that you build by simply doing it. It's like, do I always feel like standing in a Zhanzhuang position for 45 minutes? No, but I do it, because once I do it, I'm doing it and I'm in that it's just, you just have to do it, Inspiration will come and go, motivation will come and go, but discipline and willpower is something you have to build. I don't know how else to say it, other than, organizing your life, committing at a higher level to simply doing it no matter how you feel, and, just do it. And the more you do that, the better you get at it. I used to be super lazy, super unmotivated. If I could live the lifestyle I'm living now, anyone can. It's just about kind of changing your environment, changing your habits, getting out of these hypnotic routines you've been in, like completely change up your life's routine, completely change it up and stick with that. And you may be surprised at, how sustainable it starts to become. And then your daily practice becomes a non-negotiable. You're like, there's no going back to the old me because that version of myself feels like shit. Unstruck says, does size matter? Not as much as most guys think. As long as you have a few inches, to stimulate, to get in there and get her good pleasure centers, it's fine. Hardness is more important. It doesn't matter if you have a 10-inch cock, if it's just kind of limp and half flaccid, hardness is more important. And also you can use sexual positions and things like that to maximize how your penis feels to a woman. the average penis size is 5 inches for men, and this is actually plenty for most women. So like, I know that we all have kind of this collective trauma around penis size because we were bullied about it growing up and all these things, but like, don't worry about it. Your penis, you all have beautiful, perfect cocks, brothers. It's love yourself. You got what you got. So do what you can with it. You know what I'm saying? Some people are born with assault rifles. Some of us got little pea shooters, but be a dead eye with that pea shooter. You know what I'm saying? In regards to penises, of course. Unstruck says, what do you think of Tai Chi? I fucking love Tai Chi. I do it every single day. I've been doing Tai Chi since 2015. The problem with Tai Chi is that the majority of Tai Chi you see isn't real Tai Chi. It's mindful movement. It's like, okay, I'm moving slowly and mindfully and relaxing. And that's nice. It's relaxing. It's good for old people. Someone said Tai Chi is exercise for people who are too old to exercise. And again, it's a complete misunderstanding of what Tai Chi actually is. If you have the real Tai Chi where you're like, just totally, sinking the chi, pong, just, whoa, like over time, it cultivates powerful experience of energy. You're lit up. Just, whoa, it's a better high than any drug, real Tai Chi. But it takes a while to cultivate that. So yeah, I love Tai Chi. It's something I do every day. However, don't, I love the Tai Chi for self-defense stuff though, because like, I'm not saying it can't be done, but if you're trying to use brush, knee, and push to like someone's coming at you with a butcher knife and alley and you think you're going to like brush, knee, and push your way out of that, like you're delusional. Unless you've been studying Tai Chi and other martial arts for like decades, absolutely no chance of being able to use it for self-defense, in my opinion, and experience, I will say too. Unless you can remain relaxed when a maniac's running at you with a butcher knife screaming, right? I don't think most people could. Okay. Any Qigong channels you recommend? I'm like most of my favorite teachers. I would say most of my teachers don't really have super active channels, things like that. I love Damo Mitchell's stuff. I don't agree with all of his things, but he's got, his podcast and everything I enjoy. Michael Wynn's another one of my main teachers, but he doesn't have a whole lot of stuff on YouTube. You have to go study with him. Which is how most of my teachers are. It's like they got some stuff on YouTube and social media, but like, if you really want the stuff, you've got to study with them. You know what I mean? Scott Meredith has a really cool channel too, where he drops some pretty amazing stuff in there if you really follow it. Bruce Francis drops great stuff on his channel. Of course, Montauk Chi has tons of stuff on his. So it's coming to my mind right now. There's a lot of other teachers, but a lot of the stuff on YouTube is it's the Qigong for seniors, waving your arms around, imagining things, which is great. It's a good starting point. I will say that. The North Side says, man, I quit smoking after 15 years, a week now, and you should see the gunk I'm coughing up, learn how to breathe properly and open. Yeah. Good call on quitting smoking. It does, it's a terrible habit. One of my brothers smokes and he's been trying to quit for it. It's just gnarly. It's like, what's the point? It used to be like kind of a cool thing, but I don't think smoking's cool anymore. It's just garbage. It just destroys your body. There's nothing, good about it. Smoking pretty much anything really. Right. But anyways, my rant on that. Yeah. So you want to strengthen your metal chi, your lung meridians for sure. Dr. Ridden says, I keep on the loop with your channel. Awesome. Thank you for joining. Inud says, hello from Ukraine. Hello from USA. Jack Erickson says, hey, Jonathan, have you considered growing your hair out? It acts as an antenna for your intuition. Oh, yeah, the hair thing, this all came from, what was it, like the Apache? I think it was Apache trackers or something back in Vietnam where they had long hair and they had tracking abilities, but then they cut off their hair, sent them overseas, and they couldn't track anymore. And so everyone's like, oh, it means that your hair is your spiritual antenna and it's going to open your kundalini. So you got to have long hair. So every hippie has long hair. Every spiritual person has to have long hair. So I don't think this is really true. I know a lot of people with very long hair who are not very intuitive. And I know a lot of people who are bald who are very intuitive. And I used to have hair like down to my ass. Like I used to have super long hair. I cut it off. I did not lose any intuitiveness. In fact, if anything, my intuition only developed because I don't develop my intuition based on my hair. I cultivate it. It's a skill you cultivate. If you're relying on like things to do things for you, your development is going to hit a wall at some point. So yeah, that's my thing on the hair thing. Maybe I'll grow it out again someday, but I don't know. I got tired of it being in my face. Plus back then, that was like my early 20s. I was like 22, 23. And I was really skinny. I was super underweight at that time. And sometimes people like mistook me for a woman from a distance and things like that. So, you know what? It's time to cultivate my masculinity. Jack Erickson says, "What are the big essential energy centers in the body? The big essential. I mean, there's hundreds, maybe thousands, like micro energy centers. Number one is lower dantian. That's it's the battery and the engine for your channel system, your energy body, everything. Like if you don't cultivate the dantian, you don't have much as far as like storage and like chi pressure, right? So it all starts with that. A lot of systems start with like the head center, which can be very dangerous. It's like trying to build a building from the roof down. So they like, all this cosmic chi, but you don't have a container to hold it. You're super up and down. You're spaced out. You're like tripping over your feet. You don't have any digestion. You have to live off of like raw foods and sprouts and things like that. So I mean, the big energy centers. I mean, we all know like the 7 major chakras, but there's all the 3 dantian are kind of the core energy systems: belly, heart, head. Of course, there's other versions of dantian in different systems. There's all these kind of minor energy centers as well, but obviously the lower dantian is, if you're serious about energy cultivation, that should be your focal point for at least a couple years. Okay. Rishi Vadravu says, "Can cannabis be used in conjunction with semen retention and spiritual development rather than as a hindrance?" Okay. I've been asked similar question many times. I know marijuana is a popular. Because okay, I used to smoke weed every day. In my early 20s, I was definitely kind of a stoner. Had long hair. Man, makes me more spiritual, and it, I felt like it did. But I remember hearing from people at the time, because I was getting like spiritual stuff and reading books and exploring practices, and I'd hear some people say like marijuana like negatively affects it can put holes in your aura or kind of be negative for your spiritual growth. And like I didn't really want to hear it. I was like, no, it can't be true. It can't be true, And I guess how I feel about it now is that I don't believe there's like a single path. This is a whole thing. We live in this universe of like, we all have our own path to walk. There's no single path that's like perfect for everyone. It'd be fucking boring. Like, well, that's why there's 8 billion of us on this planet, because we're each exploring 8 billion different paths. We're each exploring our unique thing. I say what works for me, but what works for me may like hold you back in some ways, right? Like what works for a lot of other people, I found holds me back in some ways, right? So I think that's a good preface to anything I might say, and I guess first of all is if you don't feel 100% confident that it is like benefiting you, because here's the thing, if you're like here's the thing is like when something's truly like aligned with you, it. It's almost like even if someone else says otherwise, like you just know it. There's this complete solidity within that. But whenever there's like a doubt, like I don't know, is you like you're asking me like, well, what do you think about this, right? It kind of shows that maybe there's already this doubt in your mind. So you don't feel completely solid in it, whatever you're doing. So that's kind of a sign that maybe there's some partial unalignment with it, or maybe not, just something to consider as well. I think that's a better answer to this than like, overall. Okay, let's look at it this way. What are the cons? What are the pros and the cons of cannabis, of marijuana? The pros, the benefits, it's definitely like a yin kind of tonic. It chills people out. People who are excess yang cannot relax, just, overstressed out, over busy. It can help them just like chill out. Some people need to like sit on the couch for an afternoon and just like chill out. My dad could have used it at some points, you know what I'm saying? But not like my dad, he's a great guy. So it also has many medicinal purposes, like people who have chronic illnesses and things, it can be like amazing for them just to give some relief and things like that. The negative aspects of it, the cons of cannabis use, it definitely messes with your hormones. I've seen a lot of things, but most importantly, I've noticed for me specifically that it lowers my testosterone in the long run, weakens my sexual energy. I found it more difficult to like control my ejaculation when I was stoned on cannabis. Makes me really foggy headed, affects the memory, motivation, willpower. It often makes you a bit more impulsive, and ultimately, but here's the whole thing though. Here's really my take on substances and things like that. And I know like some people, they need just like something to like chill out at the end of the day and quickly shift their state. Whatever. But for me, ultimately, where I'm at in my life is like, I feel like it would be lazy for me to like just be like, oh, I'm just gonna smoke some weed and get high, and then I'll be able to, because the whole thing is like, why are you not enjoying where you're at right now? Why are you not enjoying the day-to-day moments? Why do you not feel good already? So this is already kind of a diagnosis that like you feel something's wrong in your kind of your day-to-day life, to where you feel like you need something else. You're like, I'm not happy with my frame of mind. I'm not happy with where I'm at. And so again, adding in like a substance is kind of just putting a Band-Aid on something deeper. And because eventually the substances stop working. This whole thing is like herbal remedies and things like that are not really meant necessarily always to be like permanent things. It's more like a temporary thing as you are addressing the root causes. At least this is how a lot of herbalism is based on, right? So, and this was something very relevant for me because I had kind of I completely quit smoking weed, I think in my like mid 20s. And then I kind of had an on-off relationship with it. And I feel like it was fine overall. Like I would have it, once a week or something like that. And it was fine, but I always felt a little drained afterwards. And it just still was like, I feel like I shouldn't need to rely on this at all. And so what I'm trying to get to with this is that, rather than just like, okay, I just take this thing and I feel good for a little while, then I need more, but it's all right. Instead of that, it's like, okay, well, what if I train my mind and my body to alter the state I'm in, to change the chemicals that are in my bloodstream? That's what I use my practice for. Meditation, Qigong, it gets me high. It changes my frame of mind. It gives me the centeredness that, some people seek with substances, but no one can take that away from me. I'm never going to run out of a supply of Qi. There's no kind of come down or, side effects. With all substances have side effects. Number one is they deplete your Jing on even like minimal, but over time it can be a big thing, right? So they make you lazy in that you just take this thing and something's done for you, but it's not really you that did it. It's this external thing. So when you learn to work for things, when you learn to work for your high, that's what you're doing with Qigong. What you're doing with meditation is you're working for your high, and you can sustain it 24/7. And it's just, in the long run, yeah, that's how I feel about it. I think that's a good response to that question for now. But again, and then some people I know, I'm like, man, they could just like use, they could use an edible or something. You know what I mean? So it's whatever. I think all things in moderation is fine. But it's like if you feel like you need it for something, like I can't go into a social situation without this. I can't listen to music without this. I can't feel creative without this. If you have to have it every day, that's a sign of you're addicted to something, and it's actually taking away your power and making you lazy in the long run. So, something to consider. All right. Jovika, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He says, are you Pisces sun or ascendant? I do not believe so. I'm not I'm not huge into astrology, but I'm look exactly like my brother who is both. Yeah. Well, we probably have similar genetics. But maybe it's our sun sign. Okay, Jack Erickson says, hey, Johnathan, I drink a ton of water and I have to pee often. When I'm doing the deed, this feeling makes me finish quick. Any tips? Good question. Yeah, I recommend not drinking a ton of water if you know you're going to be having sex, because having this, I've experienced this too, where it's like when you have to pee, the bladder's full, it places pressure on your pelvic floor, on your prostate area, and it triggers the urgency of ejaculation. So it's not good for ejaculation control. One of the most important things, especially like first thing in the morning, where you have maximum yang, morning wood, you're really horny, your partner's in bed, like, let's go for it, baby. It's men often have trouble controlling early in the morning because it's maximum yang. So if you go take a pee first, it releases some of that excess yang and empties your bladder. You'll find it's easier to last longer. So the tip I can give is to, urinate first and maybe don't drink large amounts of water, like within an hour of having sex, best you can. I drink a lot of water too, but I'm mindful of that as well. And also if you sometimes if you have sex right after peeing, it can almost make it hard for you to have an erection because there is kind of a release that happens in urination. So I recommend waiting 10 or 15 minutes after urinating before having sex if you can. Okay. Baki Onigiri says, what is the best, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, says, what is the best way to get the reverse Kegel / the relaxing PC motion? The breath I shared earlier in this video, where it's like you're breathing out through a straw, that's a good way one way to train that. Another thing is simply doing reverse Kegel. It's like a slight pressing outwards. So next time you go to the bathroom, if you're just like, I don't even understand this engagement, next time you're urinating, try to increase the flow of urine. Notice what, physical engagements you do to do that. It's kind of a core engagement, kind of a pushing, bearing down motion, or almost like you're trying to push out a poop, but not too hard, just kind of. So that's the kind of motion engagement that you can start to use. You can use that in conjunction with your breath, but you also want to train it to be kind of independent from breath. So that is something you can use. You can also use pumping of the glutes to drive the motion. I talked about this before, but a lot of people do this, the chicken peck, kind of just thrusting from the hips. So move from the glutes. Think of that. Like you kind of squeeze the glutes a little bit and let that drive. You're driving it from the glutes, baby. That'll help actually channel some of that energy up your spine. And you want to do that in combination with keeping the pelvic floor relaxed. It can be difficult at first to isolate the glutes without any tension in the pelvic floor, but when you get good at that, that's a good way as well. And I go more into this stuff in my course, Multi-Orgasmic Man, which is now open for registration. There's a link in the YouTube description for the 1 or 2 people on my backup Instagram account. There's a link in the bio. Instagram account's down twice in 2 weeks. Or down twice in 1 week, actually. That's impressive. Catherine Ellen Terry says, now that you mention it, any tip, technique, or practice to learn to love yourself and build that confidence you exude? Also, how to start. Okay. So first of all, self-love. It takes a lot of work. It's baby steps. It took me a long time and it's still a process of loving and accepting myself. And because here's the thing, how much of our life were we told, no, you're never going to amount to anything. You're doing this wrong. You're doing that wrong. Often by the people who love us the most, our parents, most of us, our parents really wanted what's best for us, but, inevitably they ended up, scolding us and punishing us. And these, our teachers, our friends early on, and we just hold these, so many of us, I think the majority of us hold these patterns of these beliefs of there's something inherently wrong with me. We just have that belief. I know that I did for the majority of my life. And, it took a lot for me to work through that. And it still is a process. There's still layers of that for me, but I've come a long way. One thing I think is just loving yourself. There's a practice called the inner smile, where you simply, activate your heart energy. Just place your hand on your heart. Just put a smile on your face, but feel like the smile is coming from within yourself. Just that feeling of an internal smile, and just bring it to any part of your body, your emotions, your psyche, memories, just anything and everything you can smile to. You can bring this loving energy to, this acceptance. You're not trying to change anything. You're not trying to say this pattern I have is wrong, so I need to change it. No, you're just accepting it, smiling to it, and just, so you can integrate that throughout your day and your life. Ultimately, I would think I think it's the sexual kung fu practices, which that is part of the sexual kung fu system, the inner spinal practice, working with the energy channels, qigong, breath work, the spiritual path, meditation. All these things help you just kind of dissolve these internal layers of resistance, of external conditioning, of lack of self-love, and all these things over time. Some people like to work with therapists. There's a lot of ways. It's kind of the culmination of everything I've done in my life, but hopefully that's helpful. It's a path and a process for sure. And I think a big part of it for me, in fact, a huge part of it, is the inner child. Allowing your inner child to express itself, like whatever makes you feel playful, joy. Like, what did you like to do when you were a kid? I liked to personally, I like to just go run outside in nature and just jump around, do somersaults. And sometimes I do that now and it feels amazing, swing a staff around like a bow staff. Whatever makes you feel playful and spontaneous. You're getting back into that childlike expression of pure joy, not giving a shit what anyone, this is the whole thing. Ultimately, we become adults, we become such tight asses, we become so rigid, well, I don't want the neighbor to think this about, I don't want him to think that about, I better just, okay. This is the whole thing, is when we're young and unconditioned, that's our true selves. We're just shining radiantly bold. We don't care. We're loud. We say ridiculous things. And then what happens is we start to put on these masks. You're like, oh, this doesn't please my parent, therefore they're not going to feed me, therefore I'm going to die. We start to associate these things. So it's okay, I have to put on this mask. Yes, mommy, I'm a good boy. Yes, teacher. Yes, principal. Yes, priest. Yes, doctor, president, whatever it is, right? We put on these masks. Yes, I identify as this group of people. I have to please everyone around me. We put on these masks and we constrict ourselves and we become rigid into what we call, yes, this is who I am, but it's not really who you are. It's a lie. It's a mask. And when you start to strip all this bullshit away, it's oh my God, this is who I really am. So it's not an easy thing to do, but it's a process and it's incredibly liberating. And I think this is something that happens over time when you do this kind of work. It's your sexual energy, liberating it, qigong, energy cultivation, all these things. And then the next question from Catherine was also how to start building energy from zero after a life of depleting myself. That's a good question. And I think this ties in well to a lot of things we've been talking about. But a big thing here, the Chinese medicine system is building the kidney energy. You can look up kidney yin deficiency, do a Google search on that, and you'll get kind of good understanding. But basically, rest, proper nutrition, diet, hydration, getting enough sleep, changing your external environment, maybe if you live in a busy, chaotic city, maybe move out to the country, spend some time in nature, let your environment support you, because it's difficult. There's a reason I don't live in big cities. I live out here and I live on a mountain in North Carolina because it's peaceful and I feel healthier and happier when I live in this type of environment. Practicing qigong, yoga, meditation, working with a naturopath, acupuncturist to help you build your energy as well. I think those things would be important. But yeah, just learn to conserve your energy, not overspend. Here's the whole thing. Most of us spend more energy than we're taking in. So learn to take in more energy than you're spending. And sexuality, for men, obviously semen retention is a huge part of this, but just there's so many other ways you can drain your energy as well. So just looking at everything in your life and say, how am I nourishing myself versus spending energy? Dav says, do you have any experience with primordial qigong? If so, what effects have you noticed? I have been doing primordial qigong since 2016 when I first learned it from Michael Wynn, and it is a phenomenal form. Phenomenal form. It's a spiritual cultivation. I mean, you can use it for a lot of things. I primarily used it for, I primarily use it for just overall center balancing and alignment, kind of emotionally, mentally, spiritually. That's my primary intention working with that form. That's always my mantra with it, just harmony and balance all levels of my being as I'm doing the form. But I've used it for, pretty miraculous things of manifesting things that are truly important to me. Here's the thing is, it has to be truly important to you. When you're working with manifestation, especially something like this, where you're working with cosmic forces, it's got to be aligned with you and your life's path. If you're just well, I want a big pool and a big house and some hot girls, yeah, I'll just be, if it's superficial shit that's just not really coming from your true core self, you're wasting your time. But when you're really aligned with something that will support your path of growth, I've had nothing less than magical things come into my life from it. But yeah, just as a daily like centering and accelerating your spiritual growth and alignment, it's a magical form. I teach it in my primordial alchemy masterclass on my website. But yeah, it's phenomenal. It's one I recommend. It's kind of extracurricular as far as sexual kung fu practices. It won't really work with your sexual energy and things like that, but it's a phenomenal form. Jan Moravec says, hi, how can sexual kung fu help to find a life partner? Well, I would say because let me take a drink of water here. Well, this is always kind of a sticky question, because whenever you're seeking, where you're like, I need to meet someone, I need to find a life, I know I'm looking for this person, you're creating a bit of a contrivance, and you're on some level this pattern of neediness often, and that can create someone who's also in that kind of similar situation, and you can end up kind of having an imbalance in your relationship in some ways. But obviously, we all we desire to like share our lives. So, but first of all, I think what I'm trying to say here is make sure it's not coming from a place of desperation. I'm so lonely. I just want someone to love me. I need anyone. That's when you typically attract someone who kind of teaches you a lesson about this. Most people never learn the lesson, though. They just go from person to person to person, heartbreak to heartbreak to heartbreak, right? But overall, here's the thing that I've noticed in myself and in others is that sexual kung fu helps you to break away a lot of the distorted patterns of your nature. This kind of, talking about this conditioning, these emotional blockages, these old patterns, these people-pleasing habits. You start to wear a lot of these things down, come more into your personal power, come in more into your core self, your true centered self, your true authentic nature versus just, again, coming back to this, a lot of us live our lives based on like trying to please others and like trying to be someone we're not, and putting on this act all the time and living like, well, I just need to make money because I'm supposed to so I can attract this hot girl, and just not really being in our true self. So when you do these practices, you become more of yourself. You become your core self, and you also become very charged up. You become less needy. You become more self-sufficient. You're like, you know what? I've got this direct connection to me and the life force. I don't really need anything else. I feel great. And then through that, you naturally start to resonate with people who are in a similar state as you. And that's when you're going to, attract someone into your life who's on a much higher, maybe octave of expression as you are, right? And this is what happened to me. Like I remember my early 20s, I was very frustrated because I was having a very hard time, like meeting a partner. I was very desperate. I was very like, I'm so lonely. I need my soulmate, my twin flame, and, it was never working out. I definitely like this neediness definitely came through in the women that I was interacting with. And then when I remember making a decision like, wow, this is like a complete, I was doing this transformational breathwork practice, which is another tool I teach in the course. I had this just incredible release of this like neediness that I had, like thinking like I need a relationship because I'm incomplete without it. And I just completely released that. I was like, wow, it's been such a drain on my energy, just like desperately trying to find someone and being so like over emotional about it. I'm like, what a waste. I'm like, I don't need it anymore. Like, and I really stepped into like just me being happy with who I was and where I was. And I stopped seeking someone. And when I started to practice sexual kung fu, all of a sudden, like women started, hitting on me all the time, coming after me. And I was like, whoa, this is a very different dynamic. And I, but I became very like, what's the word? Just aware. Like I wasn't just gonna, like, okay, my energy is precious. I'm not just gonna like connect with anyone just because I can, So I was very, I filtered a little bit, right? Of course, I made some mistakes in the process, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, so it was a huge shift in that dynamic. And I'm not saying like, a lot of people like semen retention, man, 30 days, women are gonna just be fucking through the woods to you. Like, I don't think that happens, but you do start to radiate this energy and people will feel differently about you. I will say that. And you're much more likely that you will attract a quality partner. But don't obsess about it. All right, where am I at? Good Lord. What year is it? All right, guys, I'm going to kind of narrow down the questions here. There's a lot left. I'm not going to have time to get through them all, so let's see. Jack Erickson says, what is energy? Well, energy is everything and it is nothing. No, it's, I mean, you know, the Chinese model is Jing Qi Shen, different vibrations, the same thing. I don't know. You do your own research on this. Energy is a pretty vague term, actually. That's why I like the Taoist kind of cosmologies. They have a very practical map of the different levels of like Qi, Shen, Jing, the layers, like the interactions of all these fields and dimensions, we could say. Rendell Frank says, how do you deal with emotional upheavals with your increased vibration when all these unprocessed emotions come up? Well, you know, it's the same way anyone should, you know, deal with emotions. I'm just a human like anyone else. And when I have like intense emotional things come up, I need to ground and process. Some things really help me do that. You know, there's some tools, like specific Qigong tools that I use. I teach a lot of these in the course, like emotional, you know, clearing practices, breath work, things like that. Spending time in nature, walking, just being in nature, quietness, just kind of solitude, you know, taking some time with myself or being with friends, you know, discussing things with close friends. If I'm really going through some shit, you know what I mean? So, you know, there's a lot of tools I would say. And just understanding that, I mean, how, when you're having a difficult experience, and sometimes in the heat of the moment, it's difficult to see this, but like, just understand like everything. I try to see every situation as like a training. Like whenever something, you know, intense comes up, like, you know, my Instagram account got taken down. I have 70,000 followers. I spent years building that account, and just, oh, they're like, fuck you, we're taking your account down. Is it permanent? I don't know. I might get it back. I might not. But like, you know, a few years ago, that would have upset me a lot more. In fact, it happened a few years ago, and it upset me a little bit, you know, but this, it's like, meh, you know, it's like, you can either, it's easy to say this, but it's like, you can either really let things ride on your center and just drive you into the ground and go down a downward spiral. Like, I need a drink. I need to smoke some weed. I need to shoot up some heroin. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's like, those things don't really actually help you long. So it's like, okay, it is what it is. I can either be angry and, or I can just be like, well, all right, what am I going to do about it? Like, how am I going to move on with my life? And the quicker that you're able to move on and let go, you know, the better for everyone, I would say. But obviously, when there's really heavy stuff, like, you know, I had a death in the family in the past year, and it was something that initially I felt a bit numb to, and then there was kind of a grieving process within that, and it was definitely a lot of these like ancestral patterns that came out of me. These like, I feel I inherited a lot of things from my uncle who passed away, a lot of his incompletions. And I was working through a lot of that last year, and it was really intense. It was really, really intense. A lot of it, a lot of like anxieties, a lot of like just existential weird fear stuff that I'd never really felt before except on like crazy psychedelic trips. Right. And I feel like I finally dissolved all that recently, and, you know, just enjoy yourself the most, as much as you can. Don't numb things with drugs and alcohol. But allow things to move. Allow yourself to feel good in a holistic way. Spend time in nature, spend time with friends, spend time with yourself, and, you know, allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, and don't try to push it out, but try to, you know, just let go and release the best you can. Rendell Frank says, what do you do to combat hypersensitivity in the genitals when first awakening? I'm not sure when we mean by first awakening, like first thing in the morning. If that's what you're talking about, I said it's really big. Get up, take a pee first. Do some power lock practices. Like, you know, I teach a basic one on YouTube. I go more in depth to these in my multi-orgasmic man course. But if you do, like, just really start drawing the energy, get this pathway of the energy flowing up in your body, then it's like, okay, now I got it. And, you know, do some reverse Kegels and things like that. The early morning is also the time you're most likely to be doing that squeezing the pelvic floor. So begin the stimulation, like consciously releasing, even doing like some reverse Kegel to release that. Terry Lee says, question, when using the prostate massager, should you stretch and do reverse Kegel? Also how, okay. like, I'm not sure if you mean like, should you be doing those in conjunction with that? Or like, should you stick something up your ass like a prostate massager and then do stretching and Kegels? I'd say be careful with that because you can kind of, lodge something up there. Personally, I use, when I'm using a prostate massager, which I do every now and then just to keep my prostate healthy and work for the prostate orgasm, which the fourth masterclass series, those of you who got the masterclass series, it's coming. It'll be in February most likely, but I just wanted to make sure I had a good course with that. So that's coming in February. But anyways, I don't know. I'd say experiment and be careful. But I found, I would say to do like the passive relaxation for at least like 10 or 15 minutes, because if you go into stretching and reverse Kegling, you might create more tension in that area because there's often a bit of sensitivity when you first begin using it. Randall Frank says, how often do you spend time in nature and how important is it? I try to spend some time in nature every day. I think it's a very important. I mean, I live in a very nice nature area. There's, this whole mountain right here of trees, and it's beautiful in the summer. There's bears come through my yard. There's like 20 turkeys that have been coming through. They've actually been digging up my yard, so I have to chase them off. There's deer. I live in a very peaceful area. Asheville, the nature here is amazing. One of the reasons I live here. It's absolutely beautiful, elementally balanced, so much water, wood, energy from the trees, and it's very nourishing for my constitution. But yeah, I try to get out every single day. I mean, I do my qigong outside when it's warm enough. Yesterday I was outside doing my qigong. It was warm enough in the sun. It was nice. A little cold today. But yeah, try to get out every day, at least for like at least 20 or 30 minutes. Go for a walk. It really, really supports you, especially if you live in a city or something like that. Our bodies were designed to be in nature, and we feel better when we're in nature. It balances our nervous system, our brain chemistry, everything. I was doing this practice today. I've been working on this. I went for like a 45-minute walk on the mountains, and because here's the thing: is like even when we're walking, we're just like in our heads, just thinking, and you can get a lot more out of your walk if you stretch your awareness just like around you like a bubble. It's just like your mind is absorbing into your body and into your environment as you're walking. So it's a walking meditation, and you start to tune in to the energy of nature, the trees, and you start to feel how they affect your body. Like I felt my liver energy kind of fire up when I walked past this tree. I'm like, wow, that tree has some like strong, obviously wood chi, but like specifically in resonance with my liver channel. And I was walking, and I started to feel this like subtle feelings of like death and decay. And like I look down and like there's all these like burnt logs on the ground. Like that's really interesting. So it's a really cool practice, because instead of just fucking walking around thinking, listening to music, which it's fine to listen to music, but like I'm really working on developing this like Jedi mind. There's just this deep presence and calmness in all situations. And a great place to do that is walking in the woods, just stretching out your awareness, just feeling, just total presence. See how long you can go without like strong, constant thoughts in your mind. That's a great practice. Oh, boy. All right, guys, just a few more questions. Dr. Redden says, I tried everything. Any tips to last longer? Well, if you really integrate what I talked about at the beginning of this video, go back and rewatch it later if you haven't seen it. I think you'll, really about getting yourself out of stress response, especially to sex, being in your head, stressing out about it, tensing up, releasing pelvic floor tension, like really integrating that, especially the energy cultivation. Like, I think every man can overcome this. It's just, it takes work. It's not an overnight change. And of course I go into depth in this in my, the most in-depth training is going to be Multi-Orgasmic Man, my 12-week course. Jack Erickson says, what are your life goals now? Any things you were learning at the moment? I'm always learning. I'm always studying, I'm always, right now it's like, I want to go deeper and deeper into my practices. I want to get better at Qigong. I want to get better at meditation. I want to get better at, especially, Tai Chi, Xingyi, Bagua, these things I'm studying. I want like some serious Qi engagement. And I've gotten farther in these arts than I would have ever imagined. Like when I first learned Qigong, I didn't realize like how far you could go with like the sensations of Qi and the experience of it. And like some of the like fucking mind-blowing cosmic experiences I've had. It's phenomenal. But I know I'm still just like at the tip of the iceberg. Like some people are like, oh yeah, I've learned all there is to learn. I'm a master now. Herp. And they just stop growing, But it's like, no, I'm always going to be a student. There's always more to learn. There doesn't seem to be any limit to how far you can go with these things, right? So that's a big, I'm doing So I'm doing hours of practice a day. Other goals, I'm hitting the gym. I got a little chunky last winter. Watch my videos from last like February 2022. I was a little chunky. I wasn't quite watching my macros. Well, I was hitting the gym hard actually back then, but like I was eating way too much. I didn't quite comprehend the body fat and like the right calorie, protein, fat, carb, macro management. Anyway, so that my body goals, working in the gym, building my muscles, cutting some body fat, and I've gone far with that. Goals for this year, there's certain goals for my business, Sexual Kung Fu. I want to do 3 retreats this year. I'm going to be lining those up probably in February when I have time to like sit down and get all that planned out. Writing a book as well. I'm in the process of it. I've got one chapter done. No promises on the timeline for that. It might take me a while. So that's another thing I want to accomplish. I want to release some more music. I released an album on Spotify. What was that, in October, which is a huge accomplishment for me in the past few years because it's been really hard for me to finish music because I've been so involved with Sexual Kung Fu. So that's my High Walker with a Y, High Walker on Spotify. You can check that out. I have goals in my relationship. We're always working to like get on a deeper level of like connection and with my partner. And like, I still have some like kind of unconscious dynamics with my partner, like that it's easy to slip into when you're in a long-term relationship with someone, like just mommy issues and things like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's every aspect of my life, everything I'm interested in. I'm like, okay, how do I get to the next level, the next level, next level? So those are some of my life goals, is just fucking owning it, everything I'm doing to the highest levels possible, and knowing that there's always another level to get to, just in general, I would say. And really having a calm mind. That's a big one for me. I do have a bit of a monkey mind, and Qigong and meditation have been tremendously helpful for that. But it's like, especially in this world right now, there's just this, it seems like everyone just has this like rising overthinking energy. And it's just, there's like this resonance with that collective field. So it's like an extra challenge for me to be up on my game with just this like calmness. So yeah, those are some life goals. Okay. I think it's about time for me to wrap this up. A couple more questions. Okay, the Great Rising AF says, my penis burns if I'm not doing masturbation for long. Literally, my penis burns like the way it burns when you have a UTI. This is a very specific question that you should probably see a medical practitioner because it could be a serious issue. So have someone, who's trained to deal with these types of things. I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm not qualified to answer this. I was on Instagram question. Not just kidding. Okay. Okay. Jeff Jensen says, I try to complete the 12-week course several times. What can I do to be more disciplined to do all the exercises? And is there a time of the day that is the best time to do the exercises? Well, the most important thing is that you schedule in your day. Like, let me ask you, what is the best time? The best time to do it is when you have, the most focus and like presence with the practice. That may be like first thing in the morning, or maybe like after work in the evening, whatever. So the whole thing is you put it in your schedule and you fucking do it. And also like, being joining the calls, the live calls, posting in the groups. That's why they're there. It's for accountability, saying, hey guys, who else is going through this? So I, encourage you to connect with the community, join the calls. And the whole thing is, put it in your schedule and you do it. You have to build your day around this. You have to add it into your day. It has to be on your schedule. Like, okay, even if it's 10 minutes a day, that's something. So put it in your schedule and do it. Okay. Gym exercise that relate to sex life besides the classics like squat and deadlift. I mean, just in general, physical exercise is good for you and beneficial, but like, obviously you nailed it with squats and deadlifts. Like lower body stuff's going to build your testosterone, your blood flow down there. But ultimately, I would say there's different ways to train skills as far as, like you see, it's like, yeah, work out for better sex. It's like, sure, like being able to hold yourself upright is obviously a crucial skill for sex, but like, you can be, the best bodybuilder, be an incredible athlete in the gym, but still have premature ejaculation. So it's kind of a different skill set. That's what sexual kung fu is about, is really narrowing in on these skills that directly relate to. And if those are the most efficient things, I would be teaching like, here's the weightlifting workout for better sex. For me personally, I don't see as much of an overlap from that type of skill set. Although, obviously physical health and fitness in general is important for sexual longevity and vitality. Okay, last question here I'm going to answer is Jack Erickson says, how to channel large amounts of energy into an instrument you're playing, especially when playing live? It's just like anything. You can't think about it as like, okay, I'm channeling energy, because the minute you're thinking about it like this, it becomes this contrivance and it's contrived. Like, I'm a musician myself, having spent a lot of time performing on stage and things like that. I used to have this idea too, like, I need to learn how to like channel my chi into the instrument. Well, what do you think is happening naturally? The thing is like, how do you get the most into the zone? You have to forget about the instrument. You have to forget about yourself. You have to forget about energy and just be in the flow of what it is you're feeling. It's the feeling of the music, the expression of it. You have to. It's kind of a transcendence, because it's a communication. It's kind of like, I mean, there's things like obviously being able to hold certain awareness in your body, make sure you're breathing properly. But I think the thing here for me was like practicing Qigong, for example, taught me all these skills and it built qualities into my body and mind. And those qualities started to transfer into when I was playing an instrument. I don't have to think about them. Like if I'm like, okay, I got to move energy through this channel into this guitar, then I'm distracted from the music and it's going to suffer. So it's contrived. So the whole thing is you build these qualities over time from your practice, and it just starts to happen as it is. So it's really about removing the barriers to what's allowing you to be in the flow, what's allowing this to flow through you and be expressed in this way. You know what I mean? And that's, we all have, if it's an intuitive thing. I think so. Yeah, it goes with anything, any type of skill, really. All right, guys. It's been another episode of Sexual Kung Fu Q&A. And as your host, Johnathan White, I am signing off. Thanks everyone for joining. Great to see you guys. Great to hang out. I'll be back next week, most likely. Oh, yes, I will be back next week. And again, you have about 28 hours left to register for Multi-Orgasmic Man. Learn how to control ejaculation, practice human intention as a lifestyle, move your sexual energy through your body to have non-ejaculatory orgasms, overcome premature ejaculation, have amazing sex with your partner or just by yourself if you don't have a partner. Link in the description, link in Instagram bio. There's no one on Instagram. I'm on my backup Instagram account because it's down. So yeah, registration is tomorrow. Don't miss out. It's going to be phenomenal. And boom, 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 boom. Okay, guys, have a good week. We'll see you later. Oh, and thank you for that comment, Amber Hania. Much love, guys. How do I turn this thing off? There we go. I was on a different window to check the chat. All right. See you guys.